Thursday.
Was it a week ago? Did we decide a week, total week?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, that's good news.
Yeah,
So
good.
let's talk about your week. I think we've really honed in on the pain and anguish of recovery, which is really the pain and anguish of the ego, right? Wanting
Mhm.
it, it's the narcissism, thinking I need my thinness. Anyway, so and you've last time we talked, it was starting to really shift for you. And tell me where you're at today.
I'm I'm good. I'm good. I jotted some notes just because I kind of go up. I've kind of gone up and down during the week.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but overall good though. I keep coming back to no. I no longer want to care about thinness and my body image, and so I keep coming back
Do you
to
feel
what we're
like
talking about. Trying to.
Do you feel like you're trying to convince yourself, or do you really feel that way?
Um, just a second. Honey, I can't. No, baby, pick something else, okay? No, that's not an option. I'm sorry. Honey, talk to Kaylee, okay? There's an ice cream sandwich meltdown at my house. I'm sorry.
Do you want to call me back?
Um, I think they can figure it out. The babysitter's really competent. Can you guys? If Kaylee says it's okay, I'm fine with it. Okay.
So yeah, so the question, well, what I find all the time for most people going through the process is recovery, especially if you haven't suffered enough. And we've talked about that, right? Like you really have had to suffer to really force yourself to do something like this because it's painful, right? People who don't.
I've had a lot of denial about how much suffering I've gone through. I have to really remember that. Yeah.
I would agree. I think that's actually really important, especially the moments that you go into that victim position, which is the narcissism, like you're losing, you're a failure, you're a piece of shit, they're better than you're weaker than them, you're inferior, and you're worthless. That backdrop, those threats coming to you from that belief system are really, you need to compare that to the suffering of what you've had to do to try to be thinner, to compete with other thinner people in your mind, all of the issues that you've suffered with food because of it, the fact that your entire purpose in life basically was on pause because it was hijacked by I have to be thin first, and you never, you have to really compare. And what I came to in terms of my recovery was that there is really, truly, I don't think there's any benefit in life that is worth that suffering. That suffering is so dark and full of hell that it's impossible to find something that is so great that is worth it. So in terms of like the threats that ego makes, and you feel it, like I feel shame, you're feeling it. I feel embarrassed. I'm feeling worthless. To me, in recovery, and to everybody else who's actually fully recovered, those are so much better than the suffering. So in terms of how you work with the threats coming from the narcissism, which has a deathly like fear of inferiority, is you don't negotiate with it. So the narcissist in your mind says you're a piece of shit. Well, in what you have to say from the heart is, you know what, I'm okay with that. You don't argue with it. You just kind of lean into it. I'm okay. I'm okay if they think I'm worthless. You know what? I'd rather be embarrassed. But embarrassment is something very temporary. It's not an easy state to be in. But I'd rather be embarrassed with the truth of my reality than to be isolated in captivity, trying to fix the body and still feeling terrible about it because there's always someone else better and hotter than I am in this race for the highest supreme of thinness, right?
Yeah. Definitely.
So you're right when you say I have to remember the suffering. I can't afford to be in denial about it because, and isn't it crazy how it's all of a sudden you forget about it the moment you're pissed at your weight, right? Or that you're not thin anymore. It's like you go from, I'm describing it in my writing as Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde.
Definitely.
Right? So Dr. Jekyll is the anorexic, I'm perfectly organized, I'm like totally doing everything proper and clean and as it should be. And then, wait, that's Mr. Hyde. No, and Mr. Hyde comes out and is like, fuck the world, I want what I want. Right? That's more describing the all or nothing mentality when you're inside the suffering. But what you're describing is still a version of that. It's just maybe not as extreme, where you either want your food and you want your freedom and you want to enjoy your social life and you want to enjoy life altogether, or you want the fantasy, which is the thinness and this illusion of perfection, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of like playing sides. Do you see that? Like playing sides. Like at one point I'm pissed at my body. At the next point, in terms of like dieting, because once you're pissed at your body, diets become more valuable. They become more like less threatening, more your rescuer, right?
Right.
And then on the other side, diets become your persecutor. They are your slave captor. You're being held so strict to the diet for that thinness that the thinness loses its appeal. Your fatness doesn't make any difference, and all you want is food.
Yeah.
So you're flip-flopping, right?
Yeah.
So my question for you is, you may have that feeling of, I hate, grabbing your body fat and feeling ugly and dumb, or whatever the feeling is that you're experiencing that moment. Are you doing anything about it?
No. No. I guess for me, I feel more like, yeah, no, I don't do anything about it. Yeah.
So do you just sit and feel like crap?
Well, for a little bit, and there were definite times where I did a little crying. I've been surprised at how much bigger I've gotten, how fast it's come.
Well, that's
I'm
how.
Not
and you're not binging, right? So what does that tell you about the thinness?
I was really a lot. I didn't realize how much, I guess.
Yeah, that the thinness that you were experiencing required some extreme measures, to where you're living moderately with food and the body's response has been pretty dramatic. Keep in mind, it's dramatic to someone who is micromanaging everything about their size. Okay, so it's in your mind more than likely magnified in terms of how bad it is.
I'm sure.
Yeah, where someone who doesn't have this type of brainwashing would look at you and go, yeah, she's totally normal. Or they wouldn't even notice that much. Because you're obsessed with your size and weight. So keep that in mind. Not that that's going to do anything, but just as an observation, just recognize that clearly, even if I'm positive I've gained 10, 15, 20 pounds or more, whatever that is.
It's just that I'm growing on my clothes.
Well, of course. So the clothes that you're wearing were purchased for anorexia type of behavior. So you have to look at those clothes and go, well, of course I'm not going to.
Need to buy some new clothes.
You're going to need to get yourself something comfortable. It doesn't make sense to hope. Remember when I said to you in
Yeah.
this process, if you're hoping that you don't gain weight, you're not recovering.
It's not going to work. No.
It doesn't work. You're going to have all this anxiety. Your issues with food are going to perpetuate. You're guaranteeing weight gain. You're going to continue to feel, as your weight gets bigger and bigger, the anxiety does not get better. It gets worse and worse and worse. And so your feelings of anguish and despair and that pain process of the recovery is going to be far, far worse. And so sometimes, even if I give the guidance to don't even hope you're going to stay the same, just expect that you're going to gain. A lot of times people have to go through this to go, I can't afford to even hope that I stay the same. I have to let the body take care of itself. And in order to do that, I have to surrender all of my expectations and ideals. And think about those expectations and ideals. They're created from the thin supremacy and the desire and the bias of I need to stay thin. That's what's creating that expectation.
Yeah.
So in order for you to...
It felt a little bit like betrayal. It felt a little bit like betrayal for a little bit. Like, okay, body, I'm being kind to you now. I'm accepting you, and this is exactly what I thought you would do if I didn't control you.
That is so narcissistic, isn't it?
I know, but it's...
I'm giving you freedom, and you're supposed to do exactly what I wanted you to do.
I know.
That's betrayal, right?
Right?
Not realizing that you're betraying the actual body you're in by even holding it to that narcissistic, idealistic expectation. And that's a sign of the victim positionality. Poor me. I have to witness my body's treating me bad. I'm being treated bad. Even though this whole time, you're the narcissistic douchebag, right?
Yeah.
Treating the body as if it is some tool to be used to manipulate your value.
True.
You know, like it's the body's thinness. It's the body's thinness job to make me feel comfortable in it. If I'm not thin enough, I'm not comfortable in it. Now I'm comfortable in it. Now I'm not comfortable in it. And it's the body's fault that I'm not comfortable. Do you see how passive, codependent, psychologically needy, immature? I'm so glad you're witnessing that response. The witness of that response is going to help you understand far more clear in your own mind what has to happen.
I just have to accept it, and then when those,
So the question is, how are you going to accept it? How do you do that?
So basically, it's the negative body image, which is me thinking negatively about my body image, is what takes me down that road.
And tell me how you come to the negativity. How do you come to the negativity? This is really simple. I want you to think about this. How does anybody, not just you, but anybody come to looking at their body and feeling bad about it, feeling negative? What has to happen beforehand for them to come to that conclusion? Because don't you agree, a negative feeling about the body is a conclusion?
Okay. Yeah.
It's like a judgment. It's a grade.
Yeah.
How do you come to that grade?
Well, by having I guess by having a standard that I feel like it needs to meet. I don't know. I'm probably not in the same wavelength you are.
No, you just said it. You're right there. Okay. You have to have an ideal to compare the body to. So there's a standard in your mind that is unquestionably godlike. It is the gold standard. It isn't questionable. It is righteous. It is doctrine, if you want to call it that. It is impenetrable, meaning there is no negotiation around it. This is the gold standard, and everything else compared to it, if it is insufficient. So the difference between the ideal in your mind the standards of whatever that is to you. It could be your hip bones, the stomach, how thin you are, could be the arms. It's your measurement of standard. That's what creates the negative valuation of the body.
Yeah.
So you don't just come to feeling bad about your weight. In order for you to have that bad feeling, it requires that you have a good feeling about an alternative. So then that puts you in a position to feel relative deprivation. You feel deprived of that standard that is gold. And so that's where the feeling of lack or loss comes from. It doesn't come from the actual body. It comes from the standards that you're holding the body to. So here's the thing. You're giving the body healthy in terms of like natural eating. You're eating when you're hungry. You're not being overly restrictive anymore. You're being normal. Would you agree? And the body is gaining weight. So what you're experiencing is your body's reality, because you're eating realistically. You're no longer extreme in your behavior. You're no longer starving yourself, then binging, and then forcing yourself to puke and purge. So that's gone. Correct?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So hold on. I want you to then to look at where the issue is. Is it reality, or is it the standard that
then I get enough food.
Hold on. Is it the standard that you're holding the body to that requires that you starve to reach it? Which one should be changeable?
Right, the standard.
Yeah, you've never questioned the standard to be fucked up, ever. The standard has always been unquestionable. It's like dogma. It is a standard given to you by an authority, and you're not to question it. And you created that standard. Let me rephrase that. You didn't create that standard. The diet industry did. They sold it to you. You bought it. You said, I like it. I want that superiority. I want that. And that came from also. So once you bought into that thin supremacy, you then became very critical of your mother, right? Very critical of people who couldn't control themselves.
Well, yeah, I wasn't so critical of her because of her weight. It was how she acted. And in my mind, I put the two together.
That's exactly what I just said. So you can just say, you're right. Oh my God, I agree with you, Robin. Remember that denial thing you always do right up front? No, but let me just rephrase what you said, and that's what I said.
It sounded so different when you said it.
The problem is that you'd have to have the humility to hear it a different way. There's a humility part to it, that her weight and her behavior, the symbolism of suckiness, that's what that is. I paired them together. Yep. That's what we're talking about. You paired fatness with laziness and laziness with fatness. You never really looked at the psyche behind starvation, mental deprivation, and how we respond to food as animals. The difference between you and her is you're just willing to abuse the body through puking. She had a little more grace. So she actually was kinder to her body than you are. Saw that. So the thin supremacy, again, this is why it's so focal for every client I work with, whether you're anorexic, bulimic, bulimorexia, orthorexic, exercise addiction, bulimia, or binge eating or food addiction, whatever you want to call it, you're all the same. There is a string in the center that comes down to thinness is superior, and anything other than that is you're a loser, you're a failure, you're inadequate, you're stigmatized, the symbolism of you're lazy, dumb, uneducated, you don't have what it takes. So all of those emotions around the stigma that you attached to fatness, you get to have that as your karma. And the only way to get out of that is for you to forgive it all. For you to go, those judgments aren't actually true. They're only true to ignorance. They're only true to the symbolism of thin supremacy. So in reality, remember when we just in our mind looked at which is wrong? Is it the thinness and ideology that requires starvation and mental illness? Or is it your reality of eating like a normal human being and the body's real response? It's not being manipulated right now. You're not manipulating it through purging or extreme exercise. It's manifesting reality. This is like organic nature right now occurring. Which one's worse? Which one's the bad guy?
Right, the ideology.
The ideology. And also, is the stigma around you being a lazy pile of shit actually true? Are you really out of control right now? Is that what's making you overweight? Is it your laziness, your dumbness, a lack of willpower? Is that what's making you fat right now?
No.
Because that's the stigma that the thin ideology is creating for you. You believe that. Right? So you have to question the brainwashing. You're actually going through this process. Is any of that thin supremacy brainwashing and dogma true in any way?
No. If I pretend I'm a different person, then it's easy to see. Like, you'd be like, no, why would you think that about yourself? That's not true.
Well, you're witnessing it right now in your own, you're the one who's actually going through the process. And you're gaining weight? Is it because you are a piece of shit failure who can't control herself?
No, it doesn't mean I'm worthless either.
Right?
You know?
So the question is if you were thinner and starving yourself to do it, does that mean that you're a superior human being? Is your life superior?
No.
What's the truth? Because that's the fantasy and illusion.
Yeah.
Like, that's the symbolism. That's the opposite side of the stigma and negativism of fatness. The symbolism. Potato! Shut it! Sorry.
That's okay.
I shake the can. It's got rocks in it. Freaks him out. Good dog. He just came right to me. So cute. Anyways.
I love his name. It's so cute.
You know, it's kind of geeky. Anyways, so yeah, the symbolism it's the symbolism and fantasy of thinness, that, you know, thinner people have the extra special strength and this ability, and they have self-control, right? But the reality is that they have mental illness, self-righteousness, narcissism. They're self-centered. That's what it takes to starve. You have to be self-centered to do it.
Yeah, you do.
Isolation, and then it's just, is it really superior, or is the fantasy an illusion? Is it an illusion, you know, a mirage?
Yeah, no, it's an illusion.
So, do you really want the thinnerness? If it's going to require that you have self-centeredness, that you have to starve yourself, all this pretending, the magnitude of anxiety you have to carry with you, and the fear of food that it requires, and the pressure that you have to puke after you actually eat. I mean, just consider. And then when you do puke, you're gonna binge, because you might as well get the food that you've been deprived in. I mean, so this facade, is it really superior? Is it really something we should be wanting? Do you really want that?
No, I don't.
So again, the body that you're experiencing right now requires no obsession, no self-centeredism, no anxiety, freedom to just enjoy yourself, focus in your life outside of your own being, right?
Yeah.
It is easy, right? It is easy, and you're not binging, so you're not hurting yourself. You're not purging, right? So there's no abuse at all, is there?
No.
That would be the goal, is that you don't go, there's no abuse at all. And so is this bad?
Right, no, it's not. It's good.
So in terms of the actual enjoyment of life, which one is superior? The fantasy of thin supremacy that requires obsessive compulsiveness and self-righteousness and hoarding and all of that mental chaos and anxiety and drama. Or what you're doing, which is totally free, open-minded, relaxed with food. Your mind is open to think about other things. Which one, in terms of the enjoyment of life, is superior?
What I'm doing now, for sure.
So is it worth being okay with surrendering the fantasy? I mean, are you willing to just say, I'd rather not? If given the opportunity, I wouldn't even take it.
Yeah.
Meaning the thin supremacy. Someone could say, hey, we have the ticket. We have what you need. You can be thin. Sign the dotted line. Would you do it?
No.
Is it worth it?
No.
Don't you?
No, not worth all that obsession.
I know, because then you could get there, but then what happens once you get your thinness?
No.
Now you're in a cage having to try to maintain it and keep it because everybody will find out it was fake. You're a fraud.
Yeah.
You're a fraud. It's not real. You don't really have the thin superiority. You couldn't handle it. You couldn't keep it. Right?
Right.
So the problem is, if you don't actually fully, willfully surrender that and just deny it. I don't want it. I don't want it. I am accepting this body. I'm accepting I got to get new clothes. I'm accepting because it is superior life. It's a better life for me to not have to focus on food, binge anymore, purge anymore, obsess around everything. So the question is, if you do that, why would you feel bad about your body in its natural state? What would continue the feeling of badness about the body?
Nothing.
Well, that's if you actually are willfully saying, I don't want the thinness if it requires all that shit. I'm done. I'm divorcing that idea. I would rather gain weight and be seen as inferior. That to me is such a much, because of the freedom I'm getting from having to give a shit. Are you going to sign the contract on the other side? Which is, I'm willingly allowing the body to get fatter, which means I'm willing to get new clothes. I'm willing to accept embarrassment. I'm willing to accept that people who haven't seen me since I was ultra thin, they're going to know that I'm fat. I'd rather have the embarrassment of them finding out that I was a liar, that I am, and I'm willing to let them stigmatize me. I'm not even going to defend myself. They can think whatever they want. All of those things are so much less.
Yeah, I can actually see that.
So that's where you have to go. You have to really fully go through the process of this divorce. Otherwise, what you're experiencing will continue. And it doesn't get better. Can you hear me? Are you there? We gotta try it again.
Okay. I think, just, the international connection sometimes or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. I'm okay with it.
Okay.
This has actually been an easy call compared to some that we've had in the past.
Yeah.
So I'll take it. This is clear.
Yeah,
you're clear. I can hear you. This has been a great Skype call. So
great. Okay, good.
So yeah, I want you. Well, you have to want for yourself, because I can say, oh my God, you're so close to this full recovery. You just end the relationship you have with thinness. You got to end it. You have to see that the narcotic draw to it was a fucking lie. Yeah. Like, it wasn't this whole oh, I'm losing something. What are you losing? Really?
Right.
It's not even
just a
real.
fake sense of,
Yeah.
a false sense of superiority, just like you said.
And it wasn't even superior. What is it really?
Right.
It's
It
misery.
wasn't even superior. That's true.
Horrible. It's like such a mirage. You're going crazy. The sacrifice you had to make to be thinner and to stay in those thin clothes of yours, you had to sacrifice your psychological well-being and emotional, connection, really, and availability to your children.
Yeah.
I mean, is it really that rewarding? Or is the reward that you're chasing all in your head? It's all fictitious.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it has been.
So you have to go into reality in your realness, not just, I'm just going to do what Robin said and I hope it works. And you have to go into your mind and you have to really feel this out. Like, am I truthfully willing to forever omit that thinner body from my life? And what would that do for me? If we could completely black out that thin, modelly body that you've been attached to, you've attained it, you've also lost it, and you've been chasing it, right? What would happen if we could black it out from existence in your life?
Yeah, I would definitely have a lot more. I don't know. I wouldn't have to care about a lot of things, and it would just kind of what I've been trying to do right now. Like,
well, I want you to feel it. Feel that. Feel what would happen if we could completely just eliminate the idea, the possibility of it from existence.
I would just go on with my life.
And how would that feel?
Okay. Well, it would feel natural. It would feel like there wouldn't be a lot of work. It would just feel like, I don't know, like
freedom.
I just have other activities that I would do. Yeah.
Like freedom from bondage, from jail, from a terrible dream, from trauma.
Yeah.
It would feel like the most gracious gift from God.
Yeah.
Like, I am free from that crazy role. I don't ever have to play that again. Now I can have my life back.
Yeah.
I get to just enjoy myself. I can focus on life and beauty of life versus the beauty of thin supremacy that I've been brainwashed to focus on without escape, because there's no alternative, right? Just think about that. Think about what you gain by completely eliminating that thinner body from your life permanently.
Yeah.
What does it do for you?
I have so much more attention just to enjoy all the little things. Like, my kids and stuff, they're...
Like a get out of jail for free card?
Yeah.
Like, you get out and you can actually live and breathe?
Yeah, I don't have that in the back of my mind. Like, holding me hostage, like you said.
What happens to your relationship with food?
Yeah, it gets put back where it should be. Just, it's food. Like, if I want to eat it, I eat it. If I don't, I don't. It's there to,
Yeah, what's that do for your life?
Yeah. I don't have to, I like to plan out meals that my family enjoys, but I don't have to spend so much time or be so important.
You can just enjoy yourself. It doesn't take over your thought process. There's no bad food, so you don't ever feel bad. There's no, it doesn't take over. You don't obsess over it. You don't feel bad anymore. Your mind can move on. You eat a meal and you move on with your thoughts. Your thoughts go into space versus thoughts go into jail, right? You're no longer having to plan binging and then having to find a way to hide your purging. And as your kids get older, you realize how much harder that's going to be.
Yeah, definitely.
Just just think about the value of getting rid of that thin supremacy completely from your life.
It's very valuable.
Oh, it's huge.
Yeah.
It's like winning the lottery. This is like what feels impossible. This is when people come to me, they're like, that's impossible.
Yeah. I always felt like I was just going to be something I just have to manage and always micromanage if I wanted it out of my life. But that's not it at all.
Isn't that the truth? You can feel that. It's like, no, I just have to fully be like, I don't want it.
Yeah.
I literally don't want it. Someone could hand it to me and I'd be like, no, thanks. I'd rather just have my real body. I want my freedom to have my life. I want my life. You know, and the same is true for the clients I have who are 200, 300, 400 pounds. You have to get to where I'd rather have my life, even if it's minimalized in a bigger body, than to continue to be in the jail that's creating the problems with food that cause all these issues that have hijacked my life. Rather have my life and accept the body as it is. I can do this, even if it's really difficult, you know?
Yeah.
So in your case, you just have to be willing to allow the body to be real. And then if you're able to adapt to whatever it is, that freedom is always there. The freedom is always there. That's not negotiable anymore. The body image, you can choose that one or not. That is not important anymore. You see how we're flipping things around. Your freedom, that's what we're here for. Not thinness. And then slavery. It's allow the body to be what it's going to be, and freedom. So you become unconditional with the body and you get freedom versus super ultra conditional with the body and you get slavery.
That's a good point.
Which one would you rather?
Choose the freedom and then adjust whatever. Choose the freedom and then I can just adjust with
the body.
Whatever my body decides to do.
Yeah, because you're going to get older. You're going to go through menopause. You're going to get wrinkles. I mean, it's inevitable. I mean, all the people out there trying to escape their aging process, they look old, whether you've put tons of money into your oldness or not.
It's true.
You know, I look like I'm 40.
Right.
So I'm okay with, I just like, that's not my business. If the body lasts longer, if it lasts another 40 years, good for it. Why do I have to care about it getting older?
Right.
It's getting older. That's the beauty of being here.
Yeah. I want to care about other things that matter.
Yeah, me too. It's like, let the body do its job. It's an incredible thing. Why even sit there and feel bad about it?
Yeah.
Again, the only reason you felt bad about it is because you really believe thinness is so much better. But in reality, was it better? Is it better?
Right.
Is that something you'd actually teach to people? Would you want to hold on to that thought process ever again if given a second opportunity or life?
No.
Wouldn't you rather be like, whatever the body is, I will accept it. And then my issues with food there's no tie to how I love my body and how I love food. Those are totally separate things. They don't relate to each other.
I know you say they don't relate to each other, but I still have a hard time seeing how food doesn't relate to what my body looks like.
Well, that's because you still believe in thin supremacy. It just came out. You know, if you're not worried, okay, that's a good question. If you're not worried anymore about your weight at all, you're taking your weight that used to be super ultra controlling and conditional, and you are allowing it to just be whatever it is naturally going to be. Okay?
Yeah.
Now what happens to how you relate to food?
I guess, that changes.
Yes, notice the change, because now food is like, I'll eat when I'm hungry. What does that have to do with the way I look and how people perceive my looks? Think about that. What does eating to hunger have to do with the way your looks in perception of looks? Hunger is regulated by such a huge variety of brain, organ, activity, light exposure, cold, hot outside, menstrual cycles. I mean, think of all the dynamic things going on at any given moment that creates hunger or lack of hunger.
Yeah.
What does that have to do with how people perceive your looks?
Well, that, I guess it doesn't.
Unless your looks are important to you. Now it does. So do you see what I mean when you ask that and I go,
Yeah.
oh, well, that's because you believe in thin supremacy. That's why it's important. Because you need to maintain the way you look. And if you can use a hunger scale, then if you're eating out of hunger, you can get fatter. And that's bad because that's not good, right? Make sense?
I guess, yeah.
Like my relationship with food has nothing to do with my relationship with the body. Like, I'm good with the body, unconditionally. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like how I relate to urinating. What does that have to do with how I feel about my body?
Yeah,
nothing. It feels the same. Eating to hunger to me is the same. I enjoy it. I enjoy food. But what does that have to do with how I feel about the way my body looks?
Right.
Nothing.
What about, I've been finding, so we had some chocolate cake yesterday, and I wanted some, but I didn't want some in the middle of the day because I knew it would make me tired, but I have a hard time saying I can wait. Like, I'm like, oh, but I just want to taste it.
You have a hard time with feeling deprived.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna have to. That's part of the dieting stuff.
Okay, that'll go away eventually.
It goes away almost instantaneously for most people, but if you're holding on to, oh, I wish I was thinner, you have to hold on to, I can't eat it. I can't eat it. You know, the other thing is, does cake make you tired, or does too much cake make you tired? There's a difference between cake making you tired or too much cake making you tired.
True.
That, to me, because you weren't thinking like that, tells me you're still doing some form of mental programming based on the diet industry that tells you this stuff. They're so cognitively distorting everything. It's quantity.
That's true, because sometimes I can just have a bite of something, and even if it's sugary, I don't get tired.
Yeah, I know. That's the truth.
Yeah.
The lie is that all cake, regardless of quantity, makes you tired, makes you fat, makes you diabetic.
I'm scared of getting tired. I have a definite fear around that, but I think it's because I've restricted in the past, so I probably was tired a lot.
Yeah, you think?
Yeah. So I just need to, not be scared of that if I'm eating normally.
Yeah. If you're not hungry, you've got to be able to recognize that if you're not hungry, that food is available to you. You can have cake. Just save it for later.
Right.
If you want to taste, have a taste. The body can handle that. It's very different than eating the cake because you don't want to feel deprived and because you're also afraid, but if I eat it, I'm going to be, I might as well. I'm going to be tired anyway. So now you're dieting. That's a form of dieting. Do you see how what your question inherently has dysfunction in it?
I know it does. I'm having a hard time seeing it, but I believe you that it does.
Well, it's these things are going to continue to happen. Your fear of feeling deprived comes from probably the trauma of the link between deprivation and binging for you. So for people who come out of like binge eating disorder, feeling deprived is a trigger. It's like PTSD. Yeah. It triggers fear. And a fear of binging too. Not just fear of deprivation, but fear of binging. And then it just can feel out of control when in reality everything is in control. It stems from the feeling of hatred for the body having fat on it.
Yeah, because it's not like I have the same problem with carrots.
Well, that's because that's healthy and that's good and that's low carb.
Yeah.
Or it's high
It's all,
carb, but it's
yeah.
healthy carb. So there is some type of indoctrination in that from the diet industry.
Yeah. It's always something I've restricted in the past.
See, something for me,
Yeah.
after recovery, is that I don't see cake or carrots differently. To me, it's equal.
See, that's what my goal is here. Yeah.
Emotionally, they are equal. Clearly, intellectually, there's differences. They both bring different benefits, you know, and they have different hormonal body response to them. Hormonally, some similar, some different. So to me, it's like intellect. There's no argument that there's a difference. But emotionally, they're equal to me. I do not feel that chocolate cake is worse than a carrot, or vice versa. Or a carrot is better than chocolate cake. So the chocolate cake's better than a carrot. I don't feel that way. It just all is relative to what sounds good. Am I hungry? Because I can always have chocolate cake, and I can always get carrots for the rest of my life, as long as we live in this first world environment. That's like, there's an abundance of both.
Right. Okay.
You know? So what you think you can't have will be magnified. Cake is bad. I can't have it. You know? And if you do eat too much, you're right. It will make you tired. It makes anybody tired. Eating excessive amounts of anything, even if it was an excessive amounts of carrots, that would make you tired. I don't know if you knew, I mean, eating too many eggs will make you tired. Drinking too many protein shakes will make you tired.
Yeah.
Especially if you've starved yourself. So when you are in a state of deprivation physically, anything will make you tired if you eat too much of it. And bloated. So is it really the food, or is it the eating too much, or is it the fact that you've been depriving and are starved when you eat it? That creates the symptom. You know, the diet industry loves to just blame the food outright. They never blame their restrictions for the problem, nor do they ever actually look at quantities as the problem. Because, you know, it's almost like it's too simple to say, well, obviously one bite of cake is going to have a different response than eating 5 slices of cake. You know,
no, I'm talking in the realm of one slice.
Yeah, even
within one slice.
One slice to me
could be too much.
Again, it's like relative to hunger and relative.
What's going on at the time?
Correct. Okay. So it's so again, the diet industry, it is black and white. Cake is never good. One bite is just as bad as eating the whole piece of cake, especially if you're in the disease model of addiction, which is super fucked up because that is
it's
like so unintelligent.
Yeah.
You know.
I know it's not the food. Anyway.
You get my point. It's like, you gotta look at the big picture. Why do you want to, again, this type of thinking is a symptom of the obsessiveness.
Yeah.
So when you let all of this go, all of it goes.
That's true.
Which means, are you hungry? Do you really want cake? How much should you eat? I don't know. I'll just have a taste. Okay. It's that simple. There is none of this drama and excessive and extremism and radicalism around. I'm not hungry. What time of day is it? It's going to make me tired. But I want it. All that is a sign of the problem. Like, you're still in the problem, which makes sense to me because you still feel bad about your weight. Because you're still holding on to being thinner was so much better.
I don't know. I think it's gotten a lot better, though.
Well, of course. That's why you're not binging, but you're still there. So all this is a sign it's still there.
I have ups and downs, like I said. Yeah, I have ups and downs. And the cake was the last one from yesterday. Yeah.
So, if you would like it to go away, okay, I'm just saying. I'm not saying that the ups and downs you're going through are as bad as the torture you came into this process with. Clearly, there's a significant difference. So did you purge yesterday?
No.
When was the last time you purged?
From the last time I told you I did.
Dude, that's freaking awesome.
Yeah, I feel pretty good about that.
Does it feel easy?
Yeah.
That's because you're not binging.
Yeah.
And you're not binging because there's no purge to protect you.
And I'm having a better sense of how much food makes me full.
Right?
Yeah.
So you're more in a gray zone than black and white and black and white and black and white.
Yeah.
And so at this point, the question is, are you ready to forever end your relationship with that thinner body?
Yeah.
Forever. Like completion.
Yeah.
Like I permanently surrender.
Yeah. I'm ready to buy new clothes. I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm not waiting.
I think that's going to feel very liberating for you.
I think so too.
So something you might want to just wait for is go get some like yoga pants, stuff that's movable. Because if you want to wait until your body hits a natural point, a common issue I've seen is that people go out and buy new clothes and they say, I cannot get bigger than this. So they just do the same thing again. It's like they're staying in the same state of mind in a bigger body. It's like, you know what? Let the body tell you where its stop point is. Don't tell it what you're comfortable with. Again, you're creating an expectation with your limited ability versus opening yourself up to reality and allowing your ability to open up as well.
Yeah. I like that.
Well, because then in the end, what are you gonna get? You know what I mean?
Complete freedom.
Total freedom.
Yeah.
That's where my target has been for you this whole time.
Yeah.
That's where I'm guiding you. I'm like, that's the target, whether you know it or not. It's just now getting very clear to you.
I'm glad. That's what I want.
It should feel so worth it. Again, are you really being deprived? Are you a victim if we erase that thinner, model starved body and all of the drama that went with it? Are you really the loser if we remove that from your life?
No, because all those markers are like what you're talking about, extrinsic versus intrinsic. I'm not saying that right.
That's okay.
But, the outside world might say yes, but that's not what I'm looking at. I'm looking at what I say my world is.
Yeah, because you're the one living it. You're the one living. This is your life.
Exactly.
You're the one who, this was horrible for me. There may be some anorexic out there. It is amazing for her. You know what? She can have it.
Yeah, but I want to have my mental brain always, I want to be able to engage with my kids more and not have to care about all the stupid stuff with food and all of that. I want my attention to be on what's going on with my life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Amen, sister.
Definitely.
Amen. I'm so there with you. It is, what's amazing too is it is such an illusion. It is not real. There is a $1 trillion industry capitalizing on a fantasy. Doesn't exist.
And everybody believes it.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody believes it. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is a lie. It is a scam. It's a lie. It doesn't exist. And the people who do lose weight continue to support it, even though they have all of these mental issues, obsessing about it, dedicating hours of thinking to it. They don't see that is actually toxic psychologically. It is so toxic. You might be thinner, but you're living in a psychologically toxic environment. And you're binging and you're purging and you're hiding and you're isolating or you're holding yourself hostage from food, which means you as a pack animal are suffering incredible. And in order for you to do it, you have to be super self-focused, self-centered, always posting pictures about yourself, always talking about yourself and your weight, because you're so happy now, not realizing that you clearly are suffering from problems, right? And people who are wanting that, they can't see the mental illness in the thinner people who are obsessing over their thinness. They don't see the insanity and the degree of micromanagement going on, the degree of obsessiveness in what's in their food, what's not in their food. They don't see that. They think that that's a tool to get to the mirage. Because thinner people are so much happier. That's what she's saying, even though she's having severe OCD and depression And she's actually talking about, I have depression. Well, never linking it to what she's selling. All right. The people came to mow the lawn right when I start the video. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to stop recording. So, I'm going to show everybody this. Look.